Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 2063rd edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 1st of September 2016. The readers this week are Janet, Sally, Colin and Keith, with Robin and Pete on the controls. The editor was Janet, and the production and distribution team is Phillip and Alan. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon and Harry Breur. It's performed by Jean-Jacques Perry and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The local news headlines this week include No Judicial Review for Cycle Enfield and Everything We Saved for Years is All Gone. First, the sunrise and sunset times for the 2nd of September. Sunrise 6:15, sunset 19:44. A notice from Enfield Vision. Please note that the forum meeting scheduled for Monday the 5th of September has been cancelled due to an outing that will be taking place on the same day. That's the forum meeting scheduled for Monday the 5th of September, which has now been cancelled. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. That's Diane de Jersey and her phone number is 020 8805 6578. Now Janet will read the first item of local news.
No judicial review for Cycle Enfield. Campaigners vow to fight on against scheme despite legal setback. A High Court judge has rejected an application for a judicial review of the Council's consultation progress on the controversial Cycle Enfield plans. Save Our Green Lanes, that's SOGL campaign group, launched the court action against Enfield Council in protest at local elements of the 42 million cycling blueprint for London. Mr. Justice Oisey, in a hearing that lasted several hours, disagreed with SOGL's claim that the consultation for the A103 Green Lanes to London Road route failed to provide paper copies of its questionnaire to those without use of the internet. The judge also disagreed with the group's view that the council's statement that the scheme would lead to a better Enfield for everyone was unfair. SOGL has claimed that the scheme will worsen air quality in the area, cause disruption to bus lanes, while restricting parking and the ability of takeaway shops to deliver food to customers. SOGL leader Costas Georgiou, who also chairs the Green Lanes Business Association, said that the judge did not make reference to evidence the group had submitted. We had supplied many sworn witness testimonies showing the council failed to make paper copies of the consultation available on multiple occasions and testifying to the illegibility of the council's supposedly accessible format materials. The judge did not even mention these issues during the hearing. The judge said it was clear that the council had provided those who had taken part in the consultation with the ongoing and detailed access to the range of relevant information. The engagement period ran from February 2015 to July 2016. Councillor Daniel Anderson, Cabinet Member for the Environment, expressed relief at the judgment. We're obviously delighted that the judge has vindicated our approach to consultation, he said. He added that the council had invited comment from the community and welcomed further contributions. I would therefore urge anyone interested in helping us transform and rejuvenate our borough to engage with us throughout the rollout of the various schemes. SOGL is not giving up. Mr. Georgiou added, we are appealing against the decision. We also call on the council to hold an independent public inquiry as required by highways law.
Everything we saved for years is all gone. Her grandmother feared she would have to throw her newborn granddaughter out of a window to save her from a fire that destroyed their home. Vasso Murphy was at home in Green Lane's Palmer's Green with her husband Eddie, daughter Vasiliki aged 20, and grandchildren Kyella aged 4 and Elizabeth aged just 3 weeks, when smoke and flames filled the flat. 42-year-old Vasso started to panic and ran to wake a sleeping Kyella moments before an explosion caused the windows to shatter all over the bed where she had been sleeping. Battling through the thick plumes of smoke which threatened to block their way, the family made it to the fire escape in the kitchen, only for the door to jam. Mrs. Murphy, who has painful arthritis, said she considered throwing her grandchildren out of the window of their third-floor flat, hoping an onlooker would catch them. She said Vasiliki started to scream and said smoke filled the flat. There was an explosion and the house shook. I started panicking and ran to get Kyella. I saved her life just in time. 2 seconds later, we could both have been dead. There was another explosion which sounded like a car crash. I was very emotional. I just wanted to save the kids. I didn't think about myself. When Mr. Murphy, aged 49, managed to break the door, the family clambered down the fire escape and into the arms of strangers who had gathered to help. Mrs. Murphy relies on blood pressure medication and crutches which she had left in the flat. She added, I was shaking and crying, I couldn't breathe, and I was in agony. But all that was going through my mind was that we were alive. We'd got everybody out. In seconds you can lose everything. It's all in ashes. But I am so proud of the firemen who dealt with everything so quickly, the strangers who helped, and my son's friend Azaro. I am so grateful. The family were taken to hospital but left with no lasting injuries, and Enfield Council housed them in a travel lodge before moving them to Harlow temporarily. The fire broke out on August the 14th at around 7 p.m. The following day, the family, who moved from Cyprus 13 years ago, went back to their home of 2 years and were left devastated at seeing it in ruins. 3 weeks on from the fire, family friend Georgia Malaris has launched a GoFundMe page to gather donations for the family to help them reclaim what they lost. The kind-hearted woman has been collecting and delivering items and donated money from her own pocket to help the family find their feet. Mrs. Murphy added, everything in my house has been burnt. It's terrible. The baby's clothes, photographs, everything we'd saved for years is all gone. We have to go back to zero. We have to start from scratch.
Long-serving Laura bids farewell to the council. Retiring Enfield Council press officer Laura Berryman was the guest of honour as staff bade her a fond farewell. About 70 staff, including the chief executive, cabinet members and directors, attended the event, which was held in one of the council committee rooms. Ms. Berryman, 69, delivered a well-received speech to her former colleagues, who signed a giant card as part of her send-off. She worked at the council for 20 years, predominantly in the fields of education and schools, health and social care and housing for both Conservative and Labour-led administrations. She was also heavily involved in the delivery of Holocaust Memorial Day and organising press coverage of elections, including the famous night when Michael Portillo unexpectedly lost his Southgate seat to Stephen Twigg in 1997. Chief Executive Rob Leake said, Laura was an experienced, well-respected and hard-working member of the press, a new media team who brought a wealth of experience to the role. She was very well thought of by politicians and senior officers alike, and officers from across the council will miss her enthusiasm and sense of humour. While Miss Berryman's career has centred on telling the truth, she has also written some tall tales for children, winning the council's Strictly Come Storyteller title in 2008 as part of a nationwide Festival of Family Learning. She is now planning to spend time with her family. The council is currently going through the recruitment process to find a new media officer.
Now here are two articles about breaches of food hygiene rules. First, a halal shop ignored food safety rules. A shop has been fined after food safety standards were completely ignored. Enfield Halal Meat Centre in High Street has been fined £1,550 after inspections found dirty surfaces, dead flies, a filthy wash basin and rubbish left in the open air outside the shop. Owner Aslam Niazi of Banton Close, Enfield, pleaded guilty to 5 breaches of food safety and hygiene regulations at Tottenham Magistrates Court on Thursday, August the 11th. Enfield Council said they found multiple failings during a visit on November the 11th, including damaged floor tiles placed in the food chiller, dead flies on the floor and a dirty leaking hand basin. Cabinet Member for Environment, Councillor Daniel Anderson, said outlets which serve food to the public need to comply with certain basic standards. In this case, those basic standards were completely ignored, and we had no choice other than to prosecute. The second article is about a chicken and pizza takeaway, which was fined for breaches of food hygiene rules. Dirty surfaces and a sink covered in cigarette ash cost a fast food restaurant nearly £5,000 in fines. Chicken and Pizza Point and its owner, Adnan Afzal, have been ordered to pay £4,800 in fines, costs and a victim surcharge after a food safety inspection. Mr. Afzal of High Street was given a 1-year conditional discharge, meaning he avoids punishment as long as he does not break any more laws in the next 12 months. He pleaded guilty to 3 breaches of food safety and hygiene regulations at Tottenham Magistrates Court on Thursday, August the 11th. During a visit on November the 11th, Enfield Council inspectors found filthy floors, door handles, sockets and plugs, as well as a cracked and leaking wash basin covered in cigarette ash, a mouldy chopping board and raw chicken stored unsafely. Cabinet Member for Environment, Councillor Daniel Anderson, said, "It's completely unacceptable for places which sell food to endanger the health of customers by failing to take proper precautions and operating filthy and unhygienic premises. Enfield Council does not tolerate businesses who will not comply with the law. We take a dim view of premises which fail to adhere to safe storage of food, and we will continue to take action against dirty or unhygienic food premises that endanger the health of our residents."
Call for Daly to back divers. Divers are hoping that double Olympic bronze medalist Tom Daly will back calls to save facilities at a Barnet pool, which was used by his training school from the bulldozers. Diving boards are set to be scrapped as part of plans to redevelop the Barnet Cop Hall Sports Centre in Champions Way. The plans include adding a second 25-metre swimming pool, enlarging the gym with a creche and sports halls. However, the parents of children who use the boards said the move ignores the importance of encouraging people to have a go at sport and the Olympic legacy. They hope that Tom, winning bronze in the synchronised 10-metre platform event, will help avert the loss of diving pool for the next generation of Olympians. Wendy Crevasse of Mill Hill Village, whose daughter regularly uses the facilities, said campaigners hope that the Olympic diving role model, who also won a bronze medal at the 2012 London Games, will back the campaign, as the pool is currently used by the Tom Daley Diving Academy. She said, "We have waited until after the games and hope he will support the campaign. We think we have a potential Olympian in Chloe Hackett, who is 11 and who uses the diving pool." She also added, "We are talking to people involved with the London Legacy and Sport England." Barnet Labour Party has also waded into the row. Councillor Alison Moore said, "The Rio Olympics and the 2012 London Olympics have shown what central and long-term planning and consistent investment can do for Team GB successes. So the decision to scrap the diving facility is short-sighted and will crush the dreams of those children already taking diving lessons, working hard and setting their hearts on competing in future Olympic Games. If the plans go ahead without the diving pool, the nearest boards are at the Olympic Aquatic Centre in Stratford, East London, and the other pools at Crystal Palace in South London and Luton. Parents said it would be harder to get to for the thrice weekly training sessions for members of the diving squad. The whole idea of these redevelopment plans is to encourage children and adults to participate in sport. So far, the campaign has attracted more than 2,800 signatures on the petition website. Barnet Council said the new leisure centre would be state-of-the-art.
This is a letter from Daniel Anderson, Enfield Council Cabinet Member for the Environment, titled "Our Long-Term Plan Will Keep the River Clean," and is a response to a letter published on August the 24th from Mr. Paul Mandel. Paul Mandel is a hard man to please, but I'll try and address his concerns. Firstly, the new river itself is indeed owned and maintained by Thames Water. Enfield Council is responsible for the New River Loop in Enfield Town, hence our intervention in tackling the algae. Mr. Mandel wonders why the algae, or water fern, was left to accumulate before any intervention. However, given the problem is caused by stagnant water, simply clearing the loop without a longer-term plan in place would be a waste of resource. Hence why we have been busy developing a 3-stage plan that involves clearance, the introduction of a microscopic weevil approved by the Environment Agency to eat any recurrence of the algae, and the installation of a pump later this year to help create a flow and thereby prevent stagnancy that causes the algae. Regarding the boating lake in Broomfield Park, I have good news for Mr. Mandel. It, along with other lakes, has been cleaned and is now clear in time for the Palmer's Green Festival on September the 4th. With regards to Mr. Mandel's further point about cycle lanes along the banks of the New River, as I have made clear, the ownership lies with Thames Water, but be that as it may, it is unviable along the entire stretch of the A105 for a host of reasons which have previously been well documented.
Tail of 20-year-old cat is sliced in apparent attack. Part of Moggy's tail is cut clean off. Police are investigating after a cat's tail was severed in what appears to be a deliberate attack. Twiggy, a ragdoll cat owned by Natalie Cheek, had part of his tail cut off during an incident at around 2 a.m. on the morning of Friday the 19th of August. The 20-year-old Moggy is thought to have been attacked outside Miss Cheek's home in Sandpiper Close, Walthamstow. Miss Cheek said, "We had been up late as we were watching the Olympics, and my mum spotted blood on the kitchen floor. We realised it was Twiggy, and I started crying hysterically. I started screaming. It was not a nice thing to have to see. He does not usually leave the garden. He does not even go out of the front of the house, so that is quite worrying to us. It would have happened close to home. It just concerns me that someone either gained his trust or they trapped him in the garden. Vets told Miss Cheek Twiggy's tail had been severed in a clean cut, making it likely he had been attacked rather than injured in an accident. Twiggy had an operation on his wounded tail and is now said to be on the road to recovery. Miss Cheek added he is 20 years old, so it was a case of being worried about him making it through the operation more than anything else. But he has been amazing. It is like nothing ever happened to him. He still has the biggest spring in his step. Now I just think he is enjoying all the attention. I just want him to be safe for the rest of his life. He is a lovely cat. A Met Police spokesman said police are aware of the incident and have taken a statement. Inquiries are ongoing.
People living in flats say that their bin smell is unbearable. People living in flats plagued by the smell of rubbish are pleading for council action after suffering years of stench. Guernsey House is one of the 5 Channel Islands blocks in Enfield, housing nearly 50 flats, with all the rubbish being collected in a bin room in the basement floor. The smell from the room has got so bad it can be sensed as soon as someone walks through the door, and even a couple of floors up, and those living there want Enfield Council, who own the block, to take action. Errol Oveolu, who lives on the 7th floor, says he first brought it to the council's attention over 2 years ago, with a petition signed by flat holders on all 12 floors, but says nothing has been done and the smell is having a serious impact on residents' life and on our health. He said, "It's now been over 2 months that the major work project for all the blocks has been completed, but we are yet to see any plan of action in regard to improving smelly bin rooms. This is not acceptable at all. As a landlord, it's their duty of care to act. The council continues to ignore our complaints and have no interest in public health. I live on the 7th floor, but the rubbish problem is up there. I chased a rat down to the bottom floor from up there. When people walk through the front door, they hold their nose. It's unbearable." Mr. Oveolu suggested moving the bins outside the building could be a solution, although it would require a new building to house the bins for security. Others living in Guernsey House have also said the smell is too much to deal with. Kadahar Abdullahi, who has lived in Guernsey House since 2008 with his 6 children, said, "Sometimes you can't breathe, it's so bad. You can barely go in the room for the flies and rats." Mother of 2, Yildiz Samez, added, "It is very bad. When you come home and when you smell it, the kids are always complaining. We spoke to the council and they said they would do something, but nothing yet. More bins outside would be good, because I'm worrying about my health and my children's health." However, Perry Kilby, who has lived in the block for 5 years, said better enforcement of the current rules would work better than moving the bins outside. He said, "If people put their rubbish in the bins rather than on the floor, there would be no problem. People are just lazy. We need more enforcement, a camera outside the bin room. That's the only way you will get people to cooperate." Enfield Council spokesperson Suzanne Lindsay said, "The major work scheme did not include improvements to the bin room area in the initial specification. Following discussions with the customers, however, the council has agreed to carry out additional improvements, which include installing a partition to the bin room, an extractor fan, and renewing the chute hopper. The council is now in a position to move forward and tender the improvement work to the bin store areas. A separate specification has been drawn up for the works to the bin room, and once tenders have been received and the costs approved, we will proceed. Further information will be sent to residents about proposals and timescales."
Right, I have 2 small notices or forthcoming event information. Enjoy lazy Sunday afternoons in hilly fields with music on the bandstand. The final concert of the year will see Big Chief entertain you with jazz and blues music. Bring the family in a picnic and enjoy wonderful music. It's a free event with a collection in support of the Nightingale Hospice on Sunday, the 11th of September from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. For more information and details about parking, visit www.hillyfields.info. Another item, join Pam Rhodes from the BBC's Songs of Praise and the Choir of Christ Church Southgate on Sunday the 18th of September at 6:30 for a celebration of your favourite hymns. In Then Sings My Soul, Pam Rhodes will talk about some of the nation's best loved hymns, which we will then sing, led by the choir. Admission is free. The event takes place at Christ Church, the Green, Southgate, N14 7EG. This special event rounds off London Open House Weekend, during which the church will be open from 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Saturday the 17th of September and Sunday the 18th of September.
Golfers are being invited to tee off at a charity day as part of a £1 million mission to help fund research into brain tumours. David Taylor is hoping the day, the third of its kind, will help scientists to get one step closer to finding out more about brain tumours and preventing them. He has set up a charity in Sue's name in memory of his daughter Sue Blasotta, who died 6 weeks after doctors discovered in November 2010 that she had 3 tumours. The charity has set an ambitious target over the next decade and has teamed up with the Brain Tumour Research Organisation, which backs 4 research centres in the country which are involved in clinical research into brain tumours. Mr. Taylor said, "We support the Blizzard Institute in Whitechapel, where one day's research costs £2,740. We want to raise £1 million over 10 years. 2 previous days at Enfield Golf Club have raised more than £31,000. Mr. Taylor said Sue did 5 Race for Life 5K events at Trent Park and also did a skydive, even though she was scared of heights, to raise money for cancer research. So we want to raise money for brain tumour research. She was much loved." The Palmer's Green resident was just 42 years old when she died. She had worked as a temps manager at Reed Employment Agency in High Road Wood Green and in Enfield Town, before joining the team at St Ignatius College in Turkey Street, Enfield, where she used her HR skills to liaise with staff, the council, pupils and their parents. Her children, Daniel and Sasha, will be at the charity golf day on Friday, September the 16th. Mr. Taylor, who lives in Winchgate, Winchmore Hill, said, "We have 6 teams already and I would like to have at least 12 teams. We are also looking for more whole sponsors. Teams of 4 pay £300, which includes a round of golf at the club in Old Park Road South, Enfield, along with dinner and music afterwards. To get involved, contact Mr. Taylor on 07940 877 486 or email avidt@yahoo.co.uk.
Cricket. Defeat crushes Southgate's dreams of claiming the title. Southgate's hopes of being crowned champions of the Premier Division of the Middlesex County Cricket League came to an end when they lost by 5 wickets at table-topping Teddington. Having won the toss and elected to bat first, Southgate, who led the league at one stage last month, were indebted to a fantastic innings of 102 from Hayden Morton as they posted a total of 239 for 6 from their 50 overs. Ayush Sahota and skipper Faisal Mir helped him to add 85 and 67 for the 4th and 5th wickets respectively to put the visitors in a seemingly strong position. Some superb bowling from David Wolfenden in the early stages of Teddington's reply put the hosts under pressure as they slipped to 43 for 3. However, Ben Williams then took the match away from Southgate in remarkable fashion by smashing an unbeaten 106 off just 60 balls, sharing in a 4th wicket stand of 162 with Tim Armstrong as Teddington made it to 241 for 5 with more than 2 overs to spare. Meanwhile, Enfield produced a record-breaking display as they made the highest total in Middlesex League history on their way to crushing basement side Wembley by 252 runs in Division 2. The visitors amassed a remarkable 423 for 7 from their 45 overs, scoring at a rate of 9 per over as they simply destroyed Wembley's bowling. Neville Talbot smashed 89 off just 37 deliveries before being the first man to be dismissed after completely dominating an opening partnership of 112 with Jack Plum. Max Houlihan, who went on to top score with 100 off 64 balls, was almost as destructive as Talbot, while Craig Williams and Kyle Bacchus-Brown also made good contributions. Enfield's bowlers then took centre stage as Lee Robinson and Dan Amadi ripped through the top order to reduce the host to 80 for 8, before Kavinda Nani-Akara and Darvel Noritoma brought a degree of respectability to their innings by adding 80 for the 9th wicket. But it was never going to be enough for them to avoid a crushing defeat as Plum took the final 2 wickets as Wembley were dismissed for 171. Elsewhere, skipper De La Rey Terblanche shone with bat and ball as Winchmore Hill won by 8 wickets at Middlesex Tamil Sports and Social Club in Division 3. Terblanche and Scott Birkinshaw did the damage, as the hosts could only post a total of 140 batting first. The skipper then smashed an unbeaten 62 off 32 balls, sharing in an unbeaten stand of 109 for the 3rd wicket, with George Sanders as Hill raced to 141 for 2 off just 14 overs. Southgate host Richmond next, while Enfield entertain Brondesbury, and Winchmore Hill are at home to South Hampstead. Botany Bay remain bottom of the Premier Division of the Saracens' Hertfordshire County Cricket League, heading into the final day of the season, following an 85-run defeat at Potters Bar.
Now here's a letter from Councillor Daniel Anderson, Cabinet Member for the Environment, and it's in response to Lyndon Miller's critique of bus borders and bus bypasses, which appeared in the opinion part of the paper on August the 17th, entitled Risk to Visually Impaired. And this letter is headed, Bus Borders Work Well. Lyndon Miller's critique of bus borders and bus bypasses is misguided. Her reference to the experience in Westminster Bridge, where there are a large number of commuter cyclists and a bus stop next to a busy hospital, is not at all comparative to Enfield. Indeed, there are already several examples of cyclists and pedestrians successfully sharing space at bus stops in the borough, including along the A10, the North Circular Road and Bramley Road. Though bus stop borders are a relatively new concept in this country, they've been successfully deployed elsewhere, and evidence from Royal College Street in Camden, where they have been in place for several years, suggests that people can easily adapt to the new infrastructure. Nonetheless, we have been working closely with experts to further reduce the risk of any conflict between pedestrians and cyclists as much as possible, and, as a result, a number of measures have been integrated into our proposals. These include clear signage indicating that pedestrians have priority over cyclists at bus stops, the introduction of buffer strips wherever practicable along the route so that the first step off a bus is not directly onto the cycle lane, the use of contrasting materials and tones, and changing the height of the cycle lane on the approach to bus stops. We will also be monitoring the use of the new bus stops locally, as well as continuing to work with TfL to learn from experience elsewhere. Ultimately, of course, like all road management schemes, it will come down to the behaviour of all road users, pedestrians, cyclists and motorists alike, which no amount of supportive infrastructure can fully account for.
Hundreds of North London college students found out their GCSE results on August the 26th, and a mum said she's over the moon to get top maths grades. More than 530 students took exams in English and around 430 in maths at the College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London, with many resitting exams to improve the grades they got at school. Of those who opened the envelopes, 39% got A* to C grades in maths and 22% in English, with 7% getting A or better. Mother of two, Marta Smara, 33, got a maths A*. She said, "I am over the moon. I did not expect this grade. I was very nervous and did not sleep much last night, and now I am very happy. I have 2 children and will be showing them my grade and will tell them when they take their GCSEs in a few years, if Mum can do it, so can you." Jennifer Stacey, 30, got an A in English and a C in maths, the final qualifications she needed to earn a place at London South Bank University to study for a postgraduate diploma in adult nursing. She said, "I'm absolutely ecstatic. This was the second time I'd taken my maths since school, and I'm thrilled to have got a C. My tutors were brilliant, and my peers in the class were so supportive. It's a really good feeling."
Man raises money for hospital unit. A man is helping to raise £2 million for the hospital that saved his life. James Beckett from Enfield is one of many former patients raising cash for St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. The hospital's More Smiles appeal has so far raised over £1 million for improvements to the children's intensive care unit. Mr Beckett was 10 when he was treated for meningococcal septicemia, a form of meningitis. He said, "I owe my life to the children's intensive care unit, and I am so pleased to have helped the appeal reach £1 million. I owe them all so much, as do so many other patients that have passed through the hospital." I remember feeling very weak one morning before school. I couldn't even walk or speak. The last thing I remember is my mum taking me to the doctors, but after that everything becomes a blur. I was rushed to hospital in an ambulance, and I have seen photos of myself with tubes and wires everywhere. The next thing I remember is waking up and the staff treating me really well while I was recovering. As I've grown older, I've tried to live life to the full, enjoying every day and every opportunity that comes my way, and not waste what everyone has done for me. Mr Beckett, now 28, and his father David abseiled 10 stories down the hospital to raise £630. James has also cycled from London to Paris to raise money for the unit and competed in the Paris and Vienna marathons. Every year, around 400 patients are cared for in the children's intensive care unit at St Mary's. But it also turns away hundreds more critically ill children because it does not have enough beds. This means children sometimes have to travel as far afield as Birmingham for treatment. In 2014, the unit had to turn away 233 children, more than half the number it admitted. The redeveloped unit would have 15 beds, almost doubling the current number, allowing more than 200 extra children to be cared for each year.
Burrows visits Calais jungle. MP David Burrows has called for less politics and more compassion after joining a cross-party visit last week to the Calais jungle. The trip was part of a Save the Children initiative to help lone child refugees, particularly those seeking family reunion in the UK. Labour MP Yvette Cooper and Conservative MP Heidi Allen also made the trip, along with journalists from the national press. Mr Burrows, the Conservative MP for Enfield Southgate, met child refugees and British and French non-governmental organisations who explained that progress in reuniting child refugees with families in the UK is still slow, leaving them vulnerable to violence and trafficking. He said it was heartbreaking to learn that 100 children with claims for family reunion in the UK live in the Calais jungle. 30 children have had claims accepted and are awaiting reunion. Mr Burrows will present a package of recommendations from UNICEF, Save the Children and himself to the Immigration Minister. It will be a good test of the new government's commitment to the vulnerable and disadvantaged, he added. Mr Burrows also criticised French politicians who, he said, were busy trying to wash their hands of responsibility, suggesting they would do better to engage in cross-channel cooperation.
Here's an article from Monty Meth, the life president of the Enfield Over 50s Forum. Do you remember Andrew Lansley, the health minister in 2010 who ordered a top-to-bottom reorganisation of the NHS without an election mandate, which from April 2013 gave GPs financial control of 221 clinical commissioning groups, or CCGs, across the country? Here in Enfield, our GP-led CCG has been consistently underfunded by £8.4 million alone this year to meet the health needs of our growing population. It has built up losses of £41 million, has to make savings of £17 million this year, and is one of only 9 CCGs newly placed in special measures and branded by NHS England as inadequate, with a need to develop leadership. I can't think of another organisation in the public or private sector with a revenue stream of £400 million this year, which has gone through 4 financial directors in just over 3 years, is now on its 3rd chief officer, and where GPs appointed to the CCG governance board float in and out when realising their surgery work comes first. I think putting GPs in the financial driving seat for a vastly overstretched health economy is a flawed concept. Mr Lansley, its creator, eventually sacked by David Cameron, is now safely ensconced in the House of Lords, able to claim his £300 a day tax-free expenses when he attends. That's how we reward failed politicians. Meanwhile, in North London, our CCG is saving money, forcing people to pay for their medication from a pharmacy or supermarket, and we call this progress. Opponents have called plans for an artificial football pitch on playing fields controversial and silly. The Friends of Enfield Playing Fields are opposing the building of a new 3G pitch, which was due to go before Enfield Planning Committee recently. Permission is being sought by the council itself to build the pitch in the northeast corner of the fields near to Cambridge Gardens and next to the A10. It would be enclosed by a high fence and be floodlit and open 7 days a week, all year round. Ruth Hastings Iqbal, Secretary of the Friends of Enfield Playing Fields, said, "We're going to see less green space and we can't afford to lose any more. It's going to be built very near some houses rather than on the other side near Edmonton County School. They are going to build it 10 foot just inside the park and an opaque fence to mitigate the lighting. Lots of children and dog walkers use the gate near there to enter the park. It's going to be quite dark and dangerous for people to walk between. It will make people feel quite vulnerable. Ideally, we don't want to see it built at all, but if it is built, then it should be where it's planned. She said the experiences of those living near new pitches at Edmonton County School, who have also reported noise and light pollution, have convinced them that these plans cannot work. Jeff Hall, who lives in Cambridge Gardens, directly opposite the planned site, said, "If they put it there, we'll suffer noise pollution, light pollution, even excrement pollution. People won't walk all the way across the fields to use the toilets. They will do it in the bushes." The plans just seem so silly. The Football Association has agreed to meet 3/4 of the estimated £600,000 cost, with the council borrowing the rest, around £150,000. Councillor Jim Stephen, one of the 3 Conservative representatives of Enfield Town Ward, said, "It might seem like a good idea, but we're not happy with where it is. The houses there are going to have lights flooding them. It's an all-weather pitch, so it could be used 7 days a week all year. At the moment, you can see all across the park. This is going to make things so different." Council spokesman Laura Berryman said they could not comment on the application before it appeared before the committee. She said, "The planning committee will make a decision on this application at a future meeting, and residents who have objected will be notified in advance." The planning committee is entirely independent of the council, and its members will weigh up all the submissions and information about the proposed development before reaching any decision.
MP seeks answers after CQC report. Lengthy waiting times for cancer referrals and insufficient notice of cancelled outpatients appointments are among issues Enfield North MP Joan Ryan wants to discuss with the boss of the body running one of the borough's hospitals. They are among failings identified in a report by a health watchdog following an inspection of the Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust, which runs Chase Farm Hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, as well as the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead and Barnet Hospital. The Labour MP has welcomed the Care Quality Commission's report, which rated the Trust's 3 hospital sites as good. The CQC has also said that the service patients received overall was effective, responsive and compassionate. But a number of shortcomings were also identified where it recommended room for improvement. They included improved emergency services and medical care, failure to meet the 62-day national standard for cancer patient waiting times, and the 6 weeks advance notice it is supposed to give of cancelled outpatients appointments. The MP is asking for a meeting with David Sloman, Chief Executive of the Royal Free Trust, to discuss what action is being taken in the light of the recommendations. It is a real achievement that all 3 of the Trust's hospitals are offering a good service to patients in my constituency and elsewhere, she said. However, the safety of patients is paramount, so I will be seeking assurances from Mr. Sloman about how and when the CQC's identified areas for improvement will be delivered.
Disappointment for Town in weekend double-header. Enfield Town's disappointing start to the season continued after taking 1 point from their 2 games over the bank holiday weekend. The Towners were beaten 2-0 at Sudbury and were unable to find the net after their goalless draw at home to Harrow Borough. The results leave Brad Quinton's side 19th in the Ryman Premier Division with 5 points from their opening 6 games. Enfield dominated the first 20 minutes of their game against Borough, but the match evened out before the break. In the second half, the hosts were on top, but could not turn their possession into clear-cut chances. It was a frustrating outcome for the Towners, coming off the back of their defeat at Sudbury. Town fell to their third consecutive away loss and will need to turn this form around quickly if they are to mount another playoff challenge this season. The visitors failed to turn their early pressure into real opportunities and paid the price when they fell behind in the 13th minute of the game. Sam Bantic sent in a cross which enabled Adam Tan to power a header past goalkeeper Nathan MacDonald. The Towners responded and Tyler Campbell forced homekeeper Marcus Garnham into a decent save, but the hosts doubled their lead 10 minutes before the break to leave Enfield with an uphill battle. Aaron Green picked up the ball just outside the area and he curled his shot past MacDonald to put the home side in control. The visitors started to exert some pressure in the second half of the contest and went close to pulling a goal back in the 56th minute. Campbell was again denied by the impressive Garnham and the homekeeper was in the right position to stop Kelvin Bosman's free kick. Sudbury nearly added a third goal in the 75th minute when Luke Callender was released. He rounded the goalkeeper, but his shot was blocked on the line by a defender. The rebound fell to Dave Cowley, but he struck the post as the visitors were let off the hook. This was the last significant chance of the game, but Sudbury were happy to see the game out as they claimed the 3 points. In other news, midfielders Merrick James Lewis and Tayshan Hayden Smith have been released by the club. Hayden Smith has moved to Grays Athletic. The Towners switched their attention to the FA Cup with a trip to Hanwell Town next. Quinton Sybe will visit Town in the first qualifying round of the competition. Enfield will be hoping the Cup can provide a welcome distraction from their sluggish start to the league season. Their opponents are currently 14th in the Southern Division 1 Central.
Rugby now, and Berger is enjoying life at Saracens. Shout Berger is adamant that he is relishing the challenge of playing for Saracens after meeting up with his new teammates. The legendary South African flanker, who has won 86 caps and was a World Cup winner in 2007, has made the move to Sarries after a 14-year career in Cape Town with Western Province and the Stormers. A former World Player of the Year, Berger met up with the rest of Sarries' squad for pre-season training and is looking forward to taking the field with the reigning English and European champions. My international career was coming to an end and I thought that Saracens was a great place to go, he said. With the South African influence there and the group of English talent that runs throughout the organisation, the whole culture of the club is a good fit for me and my family. You can get to a certain stage in your career when you want to change things a bit. So for the last 2 years with the Stormers, I had a dual contract with them and Suntory in Japan. The next step for me was that I needed to challenge myself again. It really is a nice challenge for me. Moving to England is super exciting, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I'm settling in as quickly as possible, but it'll probably be a few more weeks until I'm completely settled. It's still a bit of a helter-skelter. I haven't moved into my new home yet and my family is still back in South Africa, but it's been great to come into Saracens and start the process of settling in. I'm learning all the time how Saracens want to play rugby and how they do things off the pitch. Berger is the highest profile of the 5 signings Saracens have made ahead of the new campaign as they look to build on their stunning success of last season, and he is looking forward to teaming up with their talented squad. I recognised quite a number of faces when I arrived, he added. There are quite a few guys who I've played with during my time with the Stormers, and I never thought I'd play rugby with them again, so it's been great to catch up with them. Mike Rhodes came over last year. Brad Barrett I used to play with when he was based in Durban for the Sharks, as did Al Hargreaves. Then there are all of the English players, and we've been watching how well they have been doing recently, so I know a good number of them, but obviously there are still a few more guys I need to get to know. Saracens is where I wanted to come. I just want to enjoy my rugby, that's the main thing, and I have to keep it that way. My main aim is not to get ahead of myself and concentrate on my own game within the Saracen structure and be influential. You have to focus on yourself and try to adapt to how the team plays. Find your niche in that team and play well. It's also well documented that I'm good in the pub, so when the time is right, I'll hope to add value there too. Meanwhile, Sarries began their pre-season programme by running in 6 tries as they eased to a 36-21 victory at Championship outfit Bedford.
There's a letter here, and they want you to tell us of your experiences. It's from Emma McEwen, Campaigns Manager from Leonard Cheshire Disability. In the face of deep cuts to social care funding, many disabled and older people are being denied the care and support they need to live independently and with dignity. As a result, everyday tasks that many of us take for granted, such as washing, dressing and eating, are now proving more and more difficult for thousands of people. At Leonard Cheshire Disability, we are campaigning for better and fairer social care and would like to hear about your experiences of care, good and bad. Whether you have received social care yourself or experienced it through a friend or family member, please get in touch. Together we can make a difference. You can email us at campaign@leonardcheshire.org or write to Campaigns, Leonard Cheshire Disability, 66 South Lambert Road, London, SW8 1RL. Or for more information, visit www.leonardcheshire.org.
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Janet, Sally, Colin and Keith, and Robin and Peter on the controls, it's goodbye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspapers on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.